Hello, welcome.
I'm gonna get us open up. It's coming up.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Hi.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening. So good to see everyone.
Welcome back, Kay.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Looking forward to it.
It's going to be a good one tonight.
Yeah. The time goes so fast. I can't believe this is the third already.
Hi all, sorry, I'm going to mute myself and get off the camera because I'm in the middle of finishing up dinner. Is that okay?
Yes, that's
Hi.
fine.
Good to see you.
Okay, good to see you all.
I want to bite.
As long as you share, right? Okay. I think we've got most people in the lobby now. One more. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started now. We've got most people here. Welcome back, everyone. This is our Business of Art program, and we have started with the topic of sales. So we are lucky to have Joy Baldridge here. This is her third session, and unfortunately her last one for now, until Business of Art moves on to the theme of marketing. So next month we'll have marketing, so stay tuned for that. For those of you who are just joining us today for the first time, Joy is a certified speaking professional with expertise in sales. And she has helped in our Business of Art series, starting with Sales 101, Win-Win Negotiation, and tonight's webinar is called Success with Less Stress. So there will be time for questions and answers at the end, so I'll ask you to mute your mics while Joy is speaking. Until the end when we call for questions. And just a reminder, tonight's webinar will be recorded. So if you prefer to have your camera off, that's totally up to you. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to
And muting. Ready? So yes, I'm Joy Baldridge, and I'm here to talk to you about success with less stress. And it's taking me a couple of decades to share with you what I'm sharing with you this evening in about 30 minutes. So you will probably hear some ideas that you instantly say, wow, I want to do that. I want to try that. And my goal of the evening is to have you create some kind of positive change based on what you hear. And that will lead to powerful results. So it's all about the positive change for the powerful results. So you may want to have pen and paper ready so that you can take some notes and decide which of these golden nuggets, precious joy gems, will help you be a little bit stressed out. There is a little bit of review from some of the other sessions in the beginning, only because when you sell and when you negotiate, there's also some stress involved. So there's a few of those slides, but the most part, they're all new. So as I love this quote. This quote says that someone somewhere is looking for exactly what you have to offer. And it's from Louise Hay. And what I like about it is that it instantly makes me less stressed. because when you're selling your art or when people are commenting on the work that you've done and you've worked so hard all your life to achieve, and they don't realize all the work that's gone into it. Sometimes people like things, sometimes people don't, sometimes they're polite, sometimes they're not. So if you just tell yourself in this believing tone that someone somewhere is looking for exactly what you have to offer, it will help you to feel stronger, more confident about what it is you're here to achieve. And that will reduce your stress. And knowing that when nothing is certain, anything is possible, as long as we salt the hay. And salt the hay, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And my father would say, you know what you can do? And we'd say nothing, they're stubborn. And he would say, well, you can salt the hay. And then he would ask, what happens when you salt the hay? And the horse will get thirsty and the horse will drink. And so knowing that when you get stopped and stopped again, you tried this and you tried that, and it's not working out what you're trying to accomplish, it's less stressful when you say to yourself, I can't do this and I can't do that. So the next question needs to be, what can I do? Because I'm going to salt the hay and find a way, because behind every two can'ts is a can. And even His Honor, Franz Manderson, he uses salt the hay in his cabinet meetings, he told me, to get more funding for the schools or to convince some that are kind of deadlocked on how we can find another way to go about achieving some success in the government. So I've seen salt the hay used in so many ways, at so many levels, for so many reasons, that whenever you feel stuck, it gets stressful. And the way that you can combat that stress is to just say, you know what, salt the hay and find a way, because behind every two can'ts is a can. And of course, from finding a way to do the Zoom call with the Corona strategic cleanup for Zoom calls on that Corona coaster, the ups and downs of the pandemic. So for you, as far as masterclass goes, I already ordain you masterclass at what you do. Just knowing that you are masterclass, that you worked hard to get where you are, and you're going to continue to work hard to get where you want to be, that's what makes you masterclass. And that also helps reduce the stress. So if those who prepare most win, I'm going to prepare you with some tools, techniques, joy gems, golden nuggets on how to be your very best when it comes to reducing stress. So there's something called the 4-4-6. And I've mentioned this, the 4-4-6 is where you inhale for 4 seconds, hold it for 4, and exhale to 6. It's a very important stress reducing exercise. So I'll count and you breathe. Here we go. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then take a moment. Ask yourself a question. How am I doing? How am I feeling? How's it going? What's the priority? The 4-4-6 puts you in the present tense, and deep breathing is your most easily accessible yet most underutilized stress reducer. It's easy access because you can do it anytime. It's underutilized because we don't think to do it, so we rather, grab some chocolate or go take a glass of wine or have a Diet Coke, or like we do these things to keep ourselves up and going and try to stay positive and get more energy, when really one of the best things you can do to de-stress is the 4-4-6. It's inhale for 4 seconds, hold it for 4, and exhale to 6. Because deep breathing puts you in the present tense. And one of my favorite quotes by a man named Robert Adams, and I have his book right here. Robert Adams wrote Silence of the Heart. And it's such a good book about reducing your stress. And basically he says, now is perfect. And he also has a beautiful expression, and this has helped me so many times running a business, starting a business, growing a business, and working with others in personal life as well as professional to be less stressed out. This expression, and I'll say it twice in case you want to write it down, has helped immeasurably to me and others, and it's actually from Robert Adams' book. The expression is very simple. It's all is well, all is well, all is perfectly well, and unfolding as it should. That's it. All is well, all is well, all is perfectly well, and unfolding as it should. And there have been some times where I've said that because I had anxiety, and I would just stop myself and say, all is well, all is well, all is perfectly well. and unfolding as it should. And there were times when I was home and the kids were going crazy, jumping on the bed and not going to bed when I asked them to, and getting in a fight. And I would still say, all is well, all is well, all is perfectly well, and unfolding as it should. And all was not well. They were going crazy. But it calms you down and it puts you in the present tense where you will actually see that now is perfect. So the 446 is a very important part of stress reduction, in addition to being flexible and adaptable, which is my moniker. AFA all the way, always flexible and adaptable. Things aren't going the way you thought they would. It's okay because you're flexible and adaptable. So important. There's no question about it. You got to continuously test that theory. When things don't go your way, tell yourself it's okay because I'm flexible and adaptable. I've had so many people email me after the sessions, whether they're teachers working with special ed students who are giving them quite a challenge, or whether it's business executives on Wall Street, or perhaps it's even artists who they're just not getting the artistic thought process that they really need to finish a piece. Whoever it is, whatever it is, wherever it is, they email me and say, gosh, I use flexible and adaptable all the time. And it calms me down, it puts things in perspective, and it lowers the tension. It's a really important stress reducer. And then some have asked me, how do you stay always flexible and adaptable? And my answer is, you really have to go back to the 446. You gotta do the deep breathing. Put you in the present tense, and now is perfect. Also, what helps is meditation, and some people get antsy when it comes to meditation. Excuse me. They get antsy because they can't just sit and be quiet for a while, you know. I'm one of those people. I can't just sit and be quiet for a while. But a friend of mine challenged me to do it, and he said, you know what, just set your phone on timer for 20 minutes and just sit. You know when the 20 minutes is up, you'll hear the timer go off. Relax and breathe and just say a word to yourself. He likes me to say ki ram. Ki is the inhale, ram is the exhale. Ki ram for 20 minutes. And yeah, sometimes I get bored and my mind wanders, but I will say that if you do this at least once and sometimes twice a day, and if you can't do it for 20 minutes because it just seems too long and you get too agitated, or you know, you just have to get back onto things, you start thinking of all the things you could be doing instead of sitting there doing nothing. But just give it a try, because it creates something called GILS. And GILS is a great acronym. GILS stands for, when you meditate, anything that happens, of course being flexible and adaptable, anything happens, it kind of hits you. But even if it hits you, when you meditate, it's GILS. It's less gripping. That's the G in GILS. It's less intense, which is the I in GILS, and it's less long lasting. So less gripping, less intense, and less long lasting. Anything that happens in your day that you don't like, you find it's adversity of some sort, or intense or difficult, or makes you angry or sad or scared, or whatever it makes you feel, the anxiety bubbling up, just know that if you do the 446, that's essential. If you remember that you're always flexible and adaptable, that's also essential. And then meditation is part of that trilogy. So you may want to even 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes at night, and then build up to 10 and 15 and 20. Highly recommend it. I feel so much calmer than when I didn't do it. And always remember, it's okay when you're flexible and adaptable. And sometimes things are going to happen and you'll get all stressed about it, and you worry about it, and you wallow about it, and you talk to everybody about it, and you're exhausted over it, and you feel badly because of it. It gets so stressful. And I remember hearing someone say, you know, sometimes you just got to build a bridge and get over it. And then I saw a motivational speaker, Amanda Gore, and she said she uses this hand-mind connection to be less stressed out, and she teaches it to her audiences. So she literally has the audience say, over it, and then they even went to a coworker, they'll like, over it, like, hey, over it, I'm over it, you over it, we're over it, or even to yourself, over it. And there's something about having that hand-body connection of just getting over it, build a bridge and get over it, can change everything. So you may want to take your hand and say, over it, Give it a try. Over it. It really does work. So staying positive, you got to say yes to things and control the controllables. What can I control? What can't I control? You can control your attitude and your effort. And those at the top of the mountain didn't fall there. They climbed there. They worked hard to get there because they stopped worrying about things like their WAFs. WAF is an acronym. It stands for worry, anxiety, and fear. And no worry, no anxiety, and fear. Let's proclaim that. We're going to get over that. Well, how do you do that? Well, 90% of what we worry about never even happens. That's according to Psychology Today. And anxiety is nothing more than the horrible stories we tell ourselves that are rarely, if ever, true. So stop telling yourselves these horrible stories and start testing things that you worry about. Testing things that you worry about. I remember I was at lunch with a friend and I was worried that I was going to get a parking ticket in the States. You know, we have the parking meters. And so I said to myself, you know what, 90% of it I worry about never even happens. And I went back to the car and there was no ticket. And so you kind of test the theory sometimes. And, you know, you worry about, my daughter got a flat tire tonight. I was worried. Our AAA roadside assistance just expired. And I thought, you know what, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to be flexible. I'm going to be adaptable. I'm going to see what I can do. And we ended up having where she was going. They had AAA and they were able to activate that. And she's now safely at a friend's house. And you know what, I was so worried. I was like, are you in a safe place? Are you okay? Do you want me to come over? All these things. She was in New York off a major highway. And no worries, because you tell yourself, you know what, most of the time, 90%, that's a lot, not going to happen. So no horrible stories allowed. And then fear has a lot of acronyms to it. I'm sure you're familiar with the ubiquitous acronym of fear, which is fear is false evidence appearing real. If you're familiar with that, you may not be familiar with the next one, which is Zig Ziglar. Love Zig Ziglar, motivational speaker. He said fear can stand for one of two things. It can stand for fear everything and run, or face everything and rise. So you can fear everything and run, or face everything and rise. I like the latter. So get rid of your WAFs. Goodbye worry, goodbye anxiety, so long fear. Hello joy. And cut the worry wires. Cut the worry wires. My dad used to always say that, cut those worry wires. Again, like over it, when you do the mind-body connection, it helps to create an image in your mind that actually cuts through that worry. So you can have clarity of thought, and you can have focused execution, and you can have the energy and the wherewithal to complete what you're doing with joy. Now, it's really important to talk about the 4 core human emotions when we talk about stress. And 3 of them rhyme, so you probably know most of them. If you can imagine, there's mad, glad, sad, and scared. So there's 4 core human emotions: mad, glad, sad, and scared. I call them houses. So you have the house of mad, the house of glad, the house of sad, and the house of scared. The question to ask yourself is, which house do you live in most, and is it time to move? And when you ask yourself the question, you get the real answer. A lot of people do not live in the house of glad. They feel it in their gut when I say, which house do you live in most, and is it time to move? It's important to ask that question because that shows you that you actually have the capacity to move. You don't have to stay embedded in one of these houses. A lot of people, they just have some of the houses here as their primary residence. I know I met a guy and he was living in the madhouse, house of mad. He was angry about everything all the time. And he actually said after the seminar, because I recommend the house of glad, of course, to be less stressed. He said he liked living in his madhouse. And I said, why? And he said, because there's passion when you're mad and angry. And he said, I don't want things too positive, and I don't, I don't scare easy. He probably scares a lot of people. He was scaring me. In the sad house, he doesn't go there, but he gets riled up about things. And I said, well, enjoy your house of mad existence then. I'm glad you found a place that makes you happy. You found great joy there. But I don't recommend it. I recommend the house of glad. But think about it. Do you know people who, or maybe you, live in the house of scared? I found myself living in the house of scared And I was raised by optimistic people to live in the house of glad. And I thought to myself, what happened? How did I get so scared so much? I'd wake up in the morning and my stomach would be in knots. I'd be fearful of the day. It was around the time of the recession in 2008, 2009, and no one was doing anything as far as business was concerned. And I had children that were younger than they are today. And it was a scary time. I was scared about money and being able to afford certain things and paying mortgage and all of those things. I was also spending too much money on shoes and things, and that didn't help. I got a little bit out of hand. Have you ever had an out of money experience? It's kind of frightening. And so I thought, you know what am I doing? Why am I every day being scared? This is not good. So I moved. I said, I'm moving to the house of glad. And I started reading positive literature. I started reading quotes that made me happy. Here's one. This quote says, I prosper everywhere I turn. Now that's a house of glad. It's not like I'm going broke more and more every day. That's a house of scared, right? And so I have these quotes all over the place, and I look at them constantly, even if they're quotes I've read over and over again. It says, it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, the ability to triumph begins with you. Triumphant. That's what that quote's about. So I started to fill my mind with the house of glad concepts. Do you know people who are in the house of sad? They're always telling you sad stories. They're always saying what happened in the news that was so sad we wouldn't believe it. And when they start with that, I say, I don't want to know, because I don't want them to ruin my house of glad existence. I don't want to know every sad story there is in the news in the world. I'm reality-based. I realize that there are a lot of areas that are not happy. There's a lot of sadness in the world. It's just that I don't choose to live in that house, or the house of scared, or the house of mad. I think the house of glad is the best place to be, don't you? I mean, it takes just as much work to live in the house of glad. Like any upkeep, you have to pull the weeds and fix the roof, and things go wrong and negative thoughts come in. I have a friend, and I said, what do you do with the negative thoughts that come into your mind? He said, you can't prevent them from coming in, because they will. You'll see something, hear something, know about something that will make you sad or scared or mad. He said, but you can control how long you allow them to stay. And he actually talks to his negative thoughts that prevent him from being glad or try to stand in the way of it. And he says, thank you for coming, now please leave. And he invites his negative thoughts and his disturbing thoughts to leave. And it works. And you can do it too and try it as well. My dad said that living in the house of glad comes with a warning. I said, what's the warning? He said, well, if you're too positive all the time and upbeat and happy, people can't take it. They just want to slap you, slap, slap, slap. Why are you so happy? What's so good about your life? Or they might think you're just inappropriately happy, because nobody needs to be that happy. Or you could, they might think that you're drunk. They might think that your medication needs adjusting. Whatever they think, what you think is, of course, most important. And living in the house of glad doesn't mean that you're euphoric and crazy happy all the time, because that could be obnoxious and inappropriate. But it means that you have a calm delight, a feeling, a sense of well-being about you. And it comes from reading positive quotes and reading positive books. I love reading biographies and learning about people and how they grew and changed. And I love going to art galleries, and I love seeing artwork, and it takes me away and it makes me happy to read about each artist. I was in Amsterdam and I saw the Van Gogh exhibit, and it just took me away to the house of glad. Just so many letters from his brother and his relationship with his wife, and how he got to be more prominent and known in the art community. And he had a lot of awful situations where he was scared and sad and mad, but his beautiful sunflowers and Starry, Starry Night and all the images, just made him and so many people more glad. So you decide, you have the capacity, which house do you want to live in most, and you will experience all of these emotions in your day. You will be mad, sad, scared, and glad in your day. I guarantee it, because I know in my day I experienced all of those as well. We had a tornado here in Connecticut today. 65-mile-an-hour winds. We never have that here. That's Kansas. That's Dorothy. That's not here in Connecticut. And yet, I was not in the house of glad. I was in the house of scared. I thought a branch was going to come through the window of my office. I thought the lightning was going to come through also, or that the power would go out. I was sad that there was so much damage and destruction after we had just cleaned up the whole yard. And I don't get mad very much, but you know, I'm sure some people were mad if a tree limb fell on their car, which did not happen to me, so that was fine. So you'll experience all of these emotions in your day, even if you have the calmest of days. And yet, all I'm saying is, where's your home? Where are you going to go back to once you get rid of the mad, sad, and scared feelings? Go back to glad. That's your primary residence. And when you use that mindset, it can only help you to stay more positive and less stressed out. So some people say, well, how do you live in the house of glad? You know, it's not that easy. And I said, no, of course it's not. But it's not that easy to be scared all the time either. It's not that easy to be sad all the time and look for sad stories and things to upset you. And it's not easy to be mad all the time. It's actually exhausting to be mad all the time. So the way you live in the house of glad, like any house, you have to pay your rent to live in a house. So you pay your rent every day to live in the house of glad. And rent stands for rest, exercise, nutrition, and thoughts. So to pay your rent every day, rest, exercise, nutrition, and thoughts, that's how you move into the house of glad. And if you don't, if you bounce the rent check, you'll be evicted from the house of glad. You can't bounce the rent check. You've got to keep checks on yourself. And you can actually do a rent check on someone else. You can rent check them by saying, are you rested? Or, oh God, it sounds like you're having a horrible day. Did you get much rest last night? Have you been exercising? What are you eating? What thoughts are you flooding your mind with? You know, this is how you pay your rent. So rest, you can do a 4-4-6, and that will help you to be more rested. You can also do something called the purple break that my family invented. You have a pigment in your eye called visual purple. It's also called rhodopsin, and it breaks down in bright light like fluorescent light and sunlight, and it's restored in total darkness. So if you just look for light sources where you sleep, or if you cover your eyes, relax, and breathe a few times during your day, that will help you to restore the pigment in your eye and make you feel less fatigued and more rested. I know without rest, I am not going to be in the house of glad. I will not, because I have to have rest to be in the house of glad. Without rest, I get scared and I get sad. And I'm very rarely mad. It's just not my thing. But I, of course, get mad occasionally. So decide how much rest are you getting. Rest isn't necessarily sleep either. Rest is sometimes taking a break, because sometimes we don't even change our habits because we're so used to being on a screen all day long and then working and home, and the lines are blurring between work and home because of COVID. So you just want to take a moment, take a breath, go outside, walk around, come back, and cover your eyes, relax and breathe. Make sure that you're rested. E is exercise. I run about 4 times a day, 3 to 4 miles in the day, and it makes me happy and it clears my mind. I don't need exercise to live in the house of glad, but I do enjoy it. I need rest. Everybody has different needs, so decide what are yours. Nutrition, I've been eating a healthy diet since March 5th, and I'd love to do a seminar, a webinar on how to unpack the pounds of the pandemic, because a lot of people I know are gaining weight from the pandemic, and I actually lost 12 pounds in the pandemic, and it's because I decided a whole new habit of healthy eating, and it's easy, and I'm not deprived of anything that I used to love, and I can share it maybe in a future webinar. But primarily, one trick in nutrition is to mix a protein with a fruit. So if you're going to have nuts, have raisins and grapes and blueberries with nuts, and that creates a protein fruit dynamic. We tend to not think about nutrition when we're not rested, so we just grab candy or a sugary drink or something like that. But that's like putting paper on a fire. It just kind of ignites very quickly, and then it dissolves very quickly to ash. And that's not the best way to go. It's better to really load up the protein, especially in the morning. One reverse diet I love is when you eat dinner for breakfast. And it takes a little doing sometimes to get used to the concept, but you eat dinner for breakfast and then you eat lighter through the day, and you still keep the good nutrition going. I told my son I gave up sugar for Lent because sugar is the most evil of all, anything you could eat. And broccoli is one of the best things you can eat. So sugar is evil and broccoli is good. And I said to my son Wilson, I said, I'm giving up sugar, cookies, candy, cake for Lent. I love them. I'm giving them up. This was before my healthy habit days. And I said, Wilson, what do you really, really love that you're giving up? And he said, I really, really love church. I said, you're giving up church for Lent. And he said, can I please, Mom? And I said, no. So he made me laugh. And laughter, of course, is the best for getting into the house of blood. And then T is the last on the list, and that's your thoughts. And according to Dr. Jonas McIlharney, who is an emergency room physician in Raleigh, North Carolina, I showed him this concept of rent, and I said, what do you make of this? And he said, it's fantastic for stress reduction. And I asked him why. And he said, because the people who come into the emergency room are coming in because they have blown the rent. They're not resting, they're not exercising, they're not any nutritional, and the thoughts are in the wrong place. And he said they have hypertension and heart attacks and all these horrible things happen to them because they are not monitoring their rent. And I said, out of all of these, which is most important, rest, exercise, nutrition, or thoughts? And he said, definitely the T for thoughts. And I asked why. And this is a quote I liked. He said, because your thoughts drive everything. Dr. Jonas McIlharney, your thoughts drive everything. They make decisions on what you do. They make decisions on whether you will take the time to rest, cover your eyes and breathe deeply, do a 4-4-6 is another rest break formula. Are you going to exercise? There's so many days where I didn't have time. I had important proposals and Zoom calls and all kinds of things I had to do. I didn't want to waste 30 minutes running when I had to get on with things. But I thought, well, what if I get up 30 minutes earlier, salt the hay and find a way. You can make it happen. Maybe I can schedule some of my Zoom calls later if I have any control over that, because I like to run in the morning because I know I'm going to get it done. By the end of the day, I'm usually so tired that I just don't feel like it, and I just don't want to do it. So when you do it first thing, it's done, it's over, you did it, and I love that. So pay your rent every day, rest, exercise, nutrition, and thoughts, and you can live in the house of glad with me. It's a nice place to be. So then you have to watch your ogive, and ogive is really a cumulative frequency of ups and downs in your day. And there's positive ogive where one point ascends to another, ascends to another, ascends to another. And there's negative ogive where one point descends, descends, descends. In art history, the shape of a stained glass window is a statistical term, the ogive curve. You see, because it goes up, up, up in the points on that curve, and then it goes down, down, down on the other side. It's a symmetrical force. I like to turn it sideways and say, my day is going up, up, up because positive good things are happening, or my day is going down, down, down because negative things are happening. So life is like an ogive curve. It's a series of ups and downs or up and down, and you have to ride that like a Corona coaster. Negative ogive descends, positive ogive ascends. So if you're early for the Zoom call, for instance, and you're feeling great and you're ahead of schedule and you just finished a beautiful piece of artwork, well, then you're on a positive ogive. And if you're late for the call and you're behind schedule and you're not feeling well, then you end up getting into that negative ogive. And when you're a negative ogive, you go down, down, down. You can get very depressed. Some people are hospitalized for this depression. But if you're always up, sometimes you're hospitalized too because you're too up. You don't want to be manic about it. You want to be relatable. And so you have to watch your ogive, and it's in degrees. Watch the degrees to the ogive curve. It's going to be going up and down all the time. The key is to just stay above the line, and when you feel like a few negative things are happening, instead of saying you have bad luck or it's a bad day or you just want to go home because everything's going wrong and you're so depressed and it's so awful, that'll just put you in the house of sad and scared and mad. Instead, you can detect, ooh, I'm experiencing a little of negative ogive. I literally do this. Oh no, I'm starting to experience some negative ogive because this went wrong and that went wrong. And so then you have to acknowledge it to release it. And that's according to Dr. Albert Ellis, the father of rational thinking. And any book by Dr. Albert Ellis, I've seen him speak live. He's fantastic. Father of rational thinking is Albert Ellis, and he tells you to acknowledge what you don't like, what goes wrong in your day, so that you can release it, because if you ignore it, it never goes away. I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to ignore it. I'm not going to let that bother me. Too bad. It's already bothering you. Instead, acknowledge it. It bothers me. I don't like it. It happened, and now I can release it. Detect to deflect, because we want no negative ogive. If you have a camera handy, take a picture of that slide. No negative ogive, because that's the mantra. No negative O drive. I'm going to find it, detect it, deflect it, and acknowledge to release it. No negative O drive. Because you want to ride the wave, you know, ride the wave of positive O drive, create positive O drive, share positive O drive, help other people be less stressed out, not just you. Because otherwise you go off to the cave of negativity and the cave of sadness and the cave of awfulness and misery. And according to Dr. John Rosen, misery does not like company. We always say misery likes company. No, it's not true. Misery likes miserable company so they can commiserate together. They talk to each other about how toxic everything is, that they're creating this toxicity and the negativity and the stress that comes with it. So always remember, misery does not like company. Misery likes miserable company so they can commiserate. So don't be that. So as you know, I'm here to bring more joy to your world. And it's tough. I know it's tough sometimes. It's stressful. Lots of things can happen. But you will recover. And it'll be stressful again. And you will recover again. The danger is always lurking. You have to fight the adversity and wrestle those alligators and do whatever it takes, no matter what, in order to earn the right, and it is a right, to hang with the lions and rule the artistic jungle for as long as you wish. As long as you're flexible and adaptable and learn, as my father always said, you gotta function in disaster and finish in style. So, function in disaster, finish in style, be kind to yourself and be kind to others. Cayman kindness is not just about being kind to others. It's about being kind to yourself so you can be kind to others. And take action. So just think, what's one thing you learned tonight that will help further your success to be less stressed? It might be to be flexible and adaptable, 4-4-6 breathing, salt the hay and find a way, because behind every 2 can'ts is a can. Or perhaps it's saying goodbye to your WAFs, worry, anxiety, and fear, by getting over it and cutting the worry wires so that you can have positive O drive and live in the house of glad by paying your rent every day and knowing that misery loves company and you don't want that kind of company. So think of one thing you can do to further your success for tomorrow, and always remember, because of you, positive things happen. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Joy. I think I'm going to be saying some of those things in my head all week.
They work, and it's great. I'm happy to hear that.
Does anyone have any questions? We can now switch over to Q&A.
I have a question. I was wondering if you could revisit what you were saying about the purple color in the eye.
Yes, I could. I went through that pretty quickly because I didn't want to go too over on time. In your eye, you can Google this. It's called rhodopsin. Technically speaking, it's rhodopsin, rhodopsin, and it is also known as visual purple. The scientific term is rhodopsin, the layman term visual purple. My father did a lot of studies on this because he was in a sleep study in the 1960s, and they put black drapes around the room, curtains, and he slept in almost virtual darkness during the night. And he found that in the day he was so much more invigorated. And they told him it's because he was restoring the visual purple, which breaks down in bright light like sunlight and fluorescent light. It's only stored in total darkness. We're never in a totally dark environment, so we end up being fatigued a lot. So you wake up tired, you end up tired in the middle of the morning, tired after lunch, tired. And it's because you never rejuvenate. So if you cover your eyes and you relax and breathe, and you count backwards, like from 20 to 1 on each breath, 20, 19, a nice little slow backwards count. Make sure there's no light leaks. You just keep covering, and then you remove your hands from your eyes. You'll notice that the brightness is so much more apparent. And I have an eye shield, and you can sleep with the eye shield or put it on, like in the airplanes, you know, those eye shields. That can help. And what that does is it makes you more energized. So you can give it a try. Maybe it's not a 20-minute nap or anything. It's just, you can try it now if you want. You close your eyes and it's not dark, but you cover them and it is. And then you just relax your shoulders and you relax your neck and your forehead, and you breathe and you relax and You count backwards. We'll do it 10 seconds. So it's 10, exhale, relax, 9, enjoy this, breathe, 8, 7, inhale, relax, 6, exhale, 5, inhale, 4, relax, 3, 2, inhale, 1. And then just take a moment. Keeping your eyes closed, slowly remove your hands and you'll notice it's really bright. And then you notice that it's because you just rested your eyes completely as opposed to, not. Just closing them isn't good enough. And it works because my dad only needed to sleep 3 to 5 hours a night the last 20 years of his life because he learned the importance of rhodopsin. Did that help?
Yes, it did. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. And I highly recommend doing purple breaks like every day. He did 6 a day. And they only take a minute. You relax, you breathe, you count backwards 20 to 1. It doesn't take long, but it rejuvenates. And definitely look for light leaks because if you sleep with your phone in your bed or a tablet or you have an alarm clock on your TV, my cable box has this piercing bright blue light. It shows the electricity is on, and it's just awful. I mean, you really need to protect your eyes. You have a moon outside, a street light, a neighbor's porch light. There's so many light sources of night light. It interferes, and then you're going to be stressed because you won't have the rest you need to be able to handle the day. And you'll end up in the wrong house. Any other questions?
Yes, I can interject. I have one, kind of going back to the one where you were talking about the negative and positive ogive. What would you suggest would be the best way to kind of detect when you're getting negative energy, and what would be, out of all the options that you gave, the best way to deflect it?
Well, I know that in my day, every once in a while, something will start to gnaw at me and I'll start to feel a little anxious or upset about something. And then I have to just stop and say, what is causing this? What is happening here? And then oh yes, I promised I would have an email to somebody before noon. And I really wished I had said by end of day instead, because by saying before noon, and then I had other priorities hit, and then I was angry with myself because I didn't keep my promise, whereas the person on the other end could probably care less. And that might be one small example. I remember I was driving somewhere and someone, this didn't never happen, I don't think, in the Cayman Islands, but it was in Connecticut, and someone yelled, "Slow down," just yelled it, and it like rattled me, "Slow down." And later that day, I was feeling uneasy, I was feeling stressed, and I thought, where is this coming from? What is the source? So when you ask yourself the question, you get the real answer. If you just tell yourself, I'm so stressed, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm so tired, it just makes you more stressed, overwhelmed, and tired. But if you ask yourself, why am I feeling so stressed? Why do I feel overwhelmed? Oh yeah, I was doing these 3 projects and then I got an email about another one that I had to add to it and the deadline was shortened. So then I take a breath and I take a moment and then I ask myself, okay, well, which is the priority and who can I email to say, reevaluate the expectations and reset that. So when that woman yelled, "Slow down," she was yelling at me. I don't even know her. It scared me. It rattled me. But later on, I was at a meeting and I thought, God, why am I so, oh, it's that lady. She yelled at me. Well, that's nothing. And then I could deflect it because I detected it. Or my daughter was late for school and it was so stressful to like get her to school that day. She didn't feel like going. She was a little tired. She wasn't really sick, sort of sick. She couldn't afford a sick day. I have to be careful of those because she has asthma. and allergy conditions. So we have to use those for like when she's really having problems, not just a little tired kind of thing. And by the time we actually got her settled and in school and all of that, I was like, oh, I'm exhausted. And then later on, you wonder, why do I feel so stressed? And like, it might be, oh, I hope she's okay. Maybe she should have stayed home. Or, you know, these thoughts just come at you from every which way. And some are more severe than that, and they're just more awful than that. These might be lighter examples, but there's, so you can, you know, lose a sale that you thought you had. That's devastating. And you already were going to use that money for rent or something really important. I mean, there's really bad things that happen. People die, and or they get diagnosed with horrible illnesses. My mom had cancer, my father had cancer, they both died of cancer, you know, but when we found out their diagnosis, we had a choice to make, and the choice was, okay, we detected the cancer, we can't deflect it, but we can find out what the treatments are and make a decision that sounds right and get other opinions. So we kept our wits about us, is really the point to that. So we detected what was wrong, we went to the doctor, and then we deflected with what treatments are being advised. And we didn't go straight to the house of sad and scared, like, you're gonna die, it's gonna be terrible. My father beat cancer 3 times, and he lasted 11 more years than when he was first diagnosed. My mother beat it twice, and she lasted 5 more years than expected. So if we just started in the house of sad or scared, we would have missed 15 years combined of house of glad opportunities to enjoy them while they were alive. And so these are just a whole variety, from some lady yelling at me to both my parents dying, but you see the spectrum here. You can use anything I've shared with you. And it is, sometimes people wonder, well, how do I detect, like you're saying, to deflect? You ask yourself questions. Why am I so upset? Why do I feel anxious? Why am I worrying so much? Why do I feel sick to my stomach? Oh yeah, this happened. You link it to an event, and there really are no problems. There are just situations, and situations have solutions. And so that's how we think about it. We do a little mind adjustment. Does that help you?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I mean, I don't know if there's any more questions, but I do want to express my gratitude for having this opportunity to do what I love and to share the 30 years of wisdom that I've kind of accumulated. I have a book, it's called The Joy in Business, and it is at Books and Books, and they can order it. It's on every bookstore in the world and everywhere you can think of. It has 45 chapters of useful ideas like the ones I've been sharing with you, and I have lots more ideas. So maybe one day we can do this again, and after you're done with your marketing seminars, and we can have a reunion, and I would love that. So are there any topics that you're interested in? You can email me, joy@joybaldridge.com, or I can be your positivity pal. Tell me something you did that put you in the house of glad or brought you positive ojive, and I'll be right there to say that's awesome. I'm so glad you did that. Congratulations. So keep in touch, joy@joybaldridge.com. I'm on every social media there is. And if you have a company that you work for, if you freelance with your art and you work at a company, I'd love to do a webinar for any place on island. I've been there 5 years, and I just love Cayman.
Well, I just want to say thank you, Joy. I wish we had had the seminar last night. I was in a mood that I could be screaming my head off. So I needed the 446 right then last night. But either way, it worked out this morning, so it's okay. But it's good to know the 446 and yeah. So it's good to, sorry?
446 is really important.
Yeah, and then the function and
Disaster
and finishing style. I like that. I think I'm going to keep that as a quote for me.
That was our family motto, and it was one of many. So I'm glad you're carrying on the Baldridge tradition. Thank you. Anybody else want to share any of their ideas? Also, there is a list of topics on my website, joybaldridge.com. And there's some videos there too on YouTube. So if you want a little joy jolt, just go to YouTube, and you'll see some good videos to help keep the joy in the day.
Are there any more questions or last minute comments from you guys before we wrap up tonight? Okay. Well, I know we've absolutely loved having you here, Joy, and we definitely hope to have you back. I do want to say that our next webinar is on the 18th of August, so mark your calendars. We'll be sending out reminders for the time and who's hosting. So our next webinar will be on marketing, like Joy said, starting with how to brand yourself as an artist. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or to Maya or to Lori. We're here to help. And if you have any requests for or ideas for any of these business of art programming webinars, do reach out to us and let us know. We're here to provide this for you. We want to help you, so we're happy to help. Thank you all again for coming tonight, and thank you, Joy.
And thank you for having me. I appreciate everything the National Gallery does. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.